Welcome to Blueprint IoT. In this video, we will take a look on how to export a screen, how to export a film to produce your own PCB boards for etching. So the file you need to print it on a transparent paper, to use it for exposure, and then later on etch your own circuit boards. So to do so, we will pretend that we will just print our layout from Fusion 360 onto a normal piece of paper. To do so, we just open our layout file, we hit for document, and there we have outputs. We can just hit print. We will get a quick menu. We can select the location. In my case, I will just save it quickly to the desktop and go for OK. There we go. That's already done. We can see it down here. Let's head over to the desktop. There we can find our PDF file. So this was an easy one. This one is exactly what we later want to print on our transparent piece of paper to create our screen. And this screen we can use for exposure and then later for etching. But as soon as we zoom in, we can see that we just printed everything. And everything that's black ink here will later be copper on our circuit board. So beside all the markings and somewhere we have weird situations where we'll have later a copper circuit, then running basically around in circles, going on, beside all of this and all those targets in the middle of the holes which will make it more difficult to drill later on, we have a major problem. And that's basically that we have top and bottom layer of our layout in one file, in one print, in one screen later on. So let's ignore all the markings outside of the real dimension of our raw material, of our raw PCB, and take a look on this circuit here. That's basically originally a bottom layer circuit. That's of course later on a different layer, but in our export here, it's on the same layer. It will be on the same print. So we're basically shortcutting those two wires to each other, to this one, to this one. If we follow down, we connect to this one and this one until we end up here. So we shortcutted a lot of stuff, and that's obviously a no-go. With the marking, we could work it out, but the two layers in one is a no-go. So we can basically scrap this and go back to Fusion 360. So what you want to do is to select only the layers and only the features, only the pads you really want to have on the top layer and the ones you want to have on the bottom layer. To do so, you head over here to display layers, and automatically your menu will switch to display layers. You can also always access it by this menu here where you have place components, design manager, and display layers. And there we can select top and bottom layer first of all. So let's get rid of the top layer for a moment, and there we can see what we have on the bottom layer. So in case you want to print the top layer, we want to make sure that the bottom layer is not interfering. So let's get rid of the bottom layer. Like this, we're done. But also let's try to get rid of a bunch of other stuff. For example, the place here, number 21, we can get rid of this one, and you can see it on the screen. The moment we hit it, we get rid of all those outlines, which we don't want to have as a copper part, as a copper feature on our circuit board later on. All the origins we want to get rid of, top and bottom. All the names we also want to get rid of, top and bottom again. They are always for the bottom and the top layer, just basically duplicated. Also the values we're going to get rid of. In our case, we don't have one, but in case you have some resistors or whatever which display the value of the resistor, you don't want to have this one on your circuit board. In case you want to have them, just leave them there. For me, I want to have a clean layout. So down here we have the so-called doku, which is basically this, again, this little circle in the middle here. We don't want to have them. We want to have clean pads. So at this point, we got rid of all the stuff we don't want to have, and we only have the pure copper and the pads left. So once again, head over to print outputs and again select where we want to save it. So also an important one is to make sure we have the checkbox black, because otherwise you will see it will print all this in different colors. And of course we want to have later on our screen as a nice black ink to block all the light during exposure. So make sure to hit black. That's all fine. So now hit OK and get over to the desktop, open the file again, and there we go. We have a nice and clear layout. It's very clean. We only have the top layer now, and we can easily print this one. Also make sure that you have this little frame around here, because that's basically showing you the borders of your layout. To be more specific, the borders of the raw material. So I selected a 100mm by 160mm raw material, and this frame around is basically indicating this one. So later on during the prototyping process, when you have to align your raw material on this screen here, you need to have some orientation. So this frame will help you to orientate your raw material on the screen. So going back to Fusion 360, to make sure you have this one, you need to have this dimension one activated. Keep an eye on this corner here. You see there's a little light green frame line around. As soon as I deactivate the dimension, this one is gone. It's very difficult to spot, so make sure to have it activated here, otherwise you will not have this frame later on. Only thing that's left to do is to export the bottom one. So for this, just activate the bottom, deactivate the top. You see, of course, you have all the pads for the THT parts that will be connected from the bottom, maybe, especially for this one here that's connected to an actual circuit. So again, hit output, select where you want to save it, hit OK, and there you go. You will have a second file created. So let's put it next to each other. There we go. We can see exactly the bottom file. This is a top file. Of course, later on during etching and during exposure especially, make sure that you align the top and the bottom one in the right way to not have a mirror effect on the back side and nothing will fit to each other. You will recognize as soon as you drill the first holes. So make sure this one is properly aligned as soon as you printed the screens. In case you wonder what's the difference between THT, SMD, check out our video about the PCB in general, where we explain all of this stuff. So I hope this video was helpful for you. In case you liked it, make sure to be subscribed for more content around electronics and IoT. Thanks for watching and see you next time.